Welcome to another episode of the Visionaries Podcast, powered by StartUp Westport, where we dive into the minds of the biggest names in business and innovation. I'm your host, Jay Norris, CEO and co-founder of Guesst Software. And today we're sitting down with Jimmy Pitaro, who is the chairman of ESPN. Jimmy has played a key role in transforming one of the world's most iconic companies, ESPN. How did Jimmy land this gig? Find out now. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Mr. Jimmy Pitaro.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here, Jay. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it's
coming.
beautiful here, by the way.
You like the space?
I'm really impressed.
Great
job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is awesome that you like the space, because I was like, he's seen a million sets. He's done it, and I'm just thrilled that you like this.
No, look, the first word I used was intimate.
I love
And
it.
it's like classy, it's got character, feels homey, feels intimate.
Right.
So you did a good job.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
that's not me. It's the team. We put the work in, Chirag, the whole team, and I'm really proud of it, because I think the best part is the product when it comes out, how it looks and how it feels, the vibe of it. So let's do it, man. I was like, wow, what do I ask this guy? He gets asked all these questions all the time. But my main thing is like, okay, I started the Visionaries Podcast because I really wanted to inspire people who have dreams and have maybe don't know how to get there. And so I always say to myself, when I have someone on the show, I have to talk about, where were you born and raised?
Yeah.
Because I really want that to be relatable to so many others. So
Okay.
please explain.
Let's start there.
Let's start there, man. Where were you born?
I was born in White Plains, New York. And I was raised in a little town in Westchester County, New York called Edgemont.
Edgemont, okay.
Kind of like on the border of like Yonkers and Hartsdale and Scarsdale.
Okay.
Technically, the zip code was Scarsdale, but not Scarsdale High School. Separate school system called Edgemont Schools. Smaller school, like you had A schools, which were the big schools, B, and so we were C school.
Wow.
Although my senior year, we got moved up to B.
That was good.
Yeah, that was a big deal for us. Although competition,
right.
Stepped up a notch. But yeah, born and raised in Westchester County, New York. I went to undergrad and law school in New York. So I'm a New Yorker.
Whoa,
through and through.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Like college, so where'd you go?
Yeah, so I went to Cornell University in upstate New York.
Great.
Studied economics, mostly while I was there. Did a semester in Washington, D.C. Cornell had a program called Cornell in Washington. And it was a work-study program. I took some classes at night. I worked for the government during the day in the Small Business Administration. Took classes at night, and great experience that really changed my life. That one semester in Washington, D.C.
You remember that one vividly. That's the one that kind of a little switch clicked for you?
Well, I took a class called the Holocaust and Jurisprudence. And my professor was a guy named Neil Scher, and he was leading prosecuting attorney for the United States government going after Nazi war criminals. And so I was fascinated by this guy. He was really smart, really charismatic, and he was also very personable, and he would take us out. There's 6 people in the class, so I got, pretty good access to this guy. Got to know him, he got to know me. He would take us out often after class, go get pizza or whatever. And one night we're sitting at a table in a restaurant, and he says, I don't know what I said to him, but he said, you'd make a good lawyer. And so that one sentence changed my life, because up until that point, outside of sports, no one had ever said anything like that to me, ever. I went to a good institution, and I felt good about myself, but I never had people tell me I'd be good at anything outside of sports.
Right.
So here I am, like really looking up to this guy.
Right.
And he looks at me and says, "You'd make a good lawyer." And at that point, I had very little direction. What I did know is I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. Like I had complete clarity.
Those dreams you understood now. That
was over.
That was
more like high school stuff.
Right,
like, I'm going to play professional football someday. Didn't work out.
Right.
I was plagued by injuries, but even without the injuries, I wasn't playing pro football. So that gave me a little bit of clarity. It was like a little bit of direction. And when you're, I don't know, what was I, 19 years old at the time?
Wow.
That little bit of direction
That's all you needed.
is all you need,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, okay,
Gosh.
this guy is telling me I'd be good at something. So that's why I say it changed my life, because I
Right.
went back. That was my second semester junior year. I went back to Cornell my senior year, and I was like, I'm going to focus on the LSAT. I'm going to focus on applying to law schools. I'm going to get my grades up a little bit, and I got some direction here, and so that's what I did.
Wow, I
Yeah.
see. So essentially you were like, okay, he kind of gave you your second wind in college in a way to say,
Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so then you finished, and then
I graduated from Cornell,
And
and I chose to stay in New York.
okay,
And so I went to St. John's Law School in Queens,
okay,
and had a great experience there. And graduated in, I guess, 1994, and I decided that I would go into litigation. And I decided that because I felt like that was the most similar to sports, right? Just this idea of competing in the courtroom, maybe not dissimilar to competing in the arena or on the field.
right,
And so I felt like, okay, I did relatively well in law school in some of my litigation type classes, and we had like mock trials
right,
that I think I performed well at or in. And so I felt confident, somewhat confident that I could do it.
got it.
And so 24 years old, I get a job at a small boutique law firm, and it's a great firm. And I got great experience. Like I was immediately put into the fire. Like
Really?
I
At
was doing
24?
depositions, and I was oftentimes in court, maybe trailing or second seating an attorney, a partner in the law firm, as he or she was picking juries. Anyway, great experience for me. But at the same time, I got some clarity there too, which is I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Litigation is not for me. I learned a lot, but I didn't like the idea of fighting with people.
I see.
Just didn't like it. I felt like there had to be a better path as a lawyer, something that was more my speed. And so I left litigation, switched firms, and moved into transactional work.
Got it.
Did a little bit of M&A, did a little bit of deals, stuff like that.
I see.
More my speed.
That was more your speed.
Yeah.
And you fell into, how'd you fall into that? Was that something that was at that firm, or was it somewhere you left that firm?
So the firm that I joined, my second firm out of law school, was much more sprawling. It had many different, the first firm was boutique. It was maybe 40 lawyers, and it was a litigation firm. It was defense litigation. When I went to this larger firm, there was several different departments, including M&A and transactional work.
So you fell right into that.
So I had the opportunity. They hired me, and I think they hired me for litigation, but then I quickly moved over to the transactional side.
Nice, because you knew that's where you were going.
Yeah.
Curious, when you're in that position, Jim, when you know that in your instinct, in your gut, that you should be somewhere else, what are there signals? Like, did you see the M&A guys? Did you watch them before you moved over? Did you shadow anybody? How did that work?
Well, when I was at the smaller firm, I had a sense that would be more my speed, transactional work. Although that firm didn't have a department focused on that, I just had a sense that it was better for me. Then when I got to the larger firm, absolutely.
Okay.
I witnessed what some of these other partners and other associates were doing and how they were spending their time. And yeah, I made it clear to my manager that was a path that I wanted to get on. And so, and he helped me do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you see why I asked that question. I mean, it's only because, you know, people are listening to this and just we want to inspire people who kind of have a gut feeling, but they don't know how to make that move. And the piece about watching and witnessing someone and saying, wow, I think that's what the gut feeling was. They're doing work that I think I should be a part of. Let me ping them and see if I can shadow them.
Exactly.
And I love that. Exactly. Because that to me is like, we don't know sometimes what we want to do. We know what we don't want to do.
Yep.
Right? So you knew you did not want to do litigation. And so it opened up it opened up that window for you to see other opportunities. You
know, it's interesting that you say that. I just had this conversation with my son's a junior in college, and he did an internship. He's a musician, he's a singer, songwriter, and he's doing well, and he's going to school for music. And he did an internship 2 semesters ago in Los Angeles working for a music marketing firm.
Okay.
And he did well, but at the same time, it was torture for him.
I say,
because he would call me regularly and he would say, Dad, I'm learning a lot and these guys are great.
Right.
But it's torture because I want to be the artist. And I don't necessarily want to do work for other artists. I want to perfect my craft. And I want to invest my time in my own art.
Wow.
And so I said, Sean, this is amazing because you're getting clarity, right? Like you're learning what you want and what you don't want.
Right.
And so getting exposure to, I guess, the business side of music, he took a step back and said, okay, yeah, there are lots of pros here, but at the same time, I don't want to spend my life doing this.
Exactly.
And so I felt like that was a net positive.
Great. I mean, that's the net, and you have that analogy because it was litigation for you.
Exactly.
Right? And so you could say, hey, this is exactly the path because now I knew I didn't want to do that. Now my son knows he does not want to be doing this.
Yeah.
And to learn that early in life is really important.
It is.
You know?
It is.
I mean, I kind of now look at the list and I go, all right, Jay, you've been down that road. You know you don't want to go there anymore. You've said that. That's off the list. It's all about bucket list things now, things that you really want to accomplish.
And I've had this experience. We're talking about one chapter of my life right now, which is as a lawyer, but I've had similar experiences like this throughout my entire career.
Okay.
Where, I'm sure you want to talk
dude, are you kidding? Oh my God, so what was, after M&A, how did the journey into the sports, ESPN, was it close to that M&A period or was there something in between there?
Oh, there was a lot in between.
Oh.
No, this was, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I was watching a documentary on the Eagles, the band, the Eagles, on Netflix.
Okay.
And Joe Walsh was being interviewed and he said, when I was living my life, my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, it all felt like a total mess. Like, I think the word he used was a cacophony. Just didn't make any sense. He said, now I'm in my 70s, and I look back on my life's journey, and it is a beautiful symphony. And so my career path makes no sense. And I'm in the phase now, Jay, where it feels like a total mess. Like it's like zigzagging around, and I started as an economics major. I went to law school, and then I met my wife, who's an actress. Okay. I met her in 1994, right when I had just taken a bar exam. I hadn't even started. She just graduated from Columbia undergrad in New York City. I had just graduated from law school, and we started to think about location. She'd been an actress since she was a little girl. And had always been somewhat opposed to Los Angeles.
I see.
And she had been able to work consistently out of New York City. But I was the one who said to her, maybe you should think about LA, there's more opportunity there. And long story short, as soon as she started to look at LA, she started to get work. And so NBC cast her as the lead in a 1-hour drama.
Oh.
And we had it at this point, we're married.
Right.
At this point, we're married. So I went into my law firm, that big sprawling law firm that I mentioned before, and I resigned.
Wow.
And took my dog, and my wife and I moved to Vancouver, Canada.
What?
Yeah. Unemployed, Vancouver, Canada. She was working 18 hours a day. As the lead in a 1-hour, you're never home. So I hung out with my dog on the beach, and that was a good moment in time. However, we were rookies.
Right.
We did not know that when someone tells you the show's going to run forever, that they don't really know. And so the show ran for 9 episodes.
Oh, wow.
Then they canceled it.
First season.
Yeah, they canceled it first season. And we then decided to not head back to New York. We took a minivan that her production crew lent us and drove down to LA.
What?
And landed in LA, and she immediately signed what's called a talent holding deal with a different network, with the CBS network. And so at that point, we knew we were going to be in LA because she was committed to a network. So I started to look for a job, and I took a job working in the music industry like you, as a lawyer for a music internet startup that had just gone public called Launch.com. And Launch was, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, Launch was Spotify, Pandora,
It was all the above.
and Vivo. Like, we had the largest music video catalog on demand in the world. We had personalized radio, and we had on-demand radio. We were way ahead of our time.
I was about to say, I remember hearing about it.
We were too early.
Too early.
This was 2000, 2001.
Wow.
And so we had raised money. We were burning through cash because it was so expensive to pay the record labels.
Right.
And we decided, you know what? There's a lot of interest in us on the outside. We gotta start having the conversations. So we ultimately decided to sell the company to Yahoo. I did the deal along with outside counsel because I was a lawyer for the company.
Right.
And
Good.
I stayed on board at Yahoo.
I stayed on with Yahoo.
Yeah, they asked me to stay after we did the deal. And I was happy there. I was doing business affairs, business development type work. And going back to your point before about watching people around you and shadowing or making it clear to the people around you where you want to go.
Right.
As soon as I got to Yahoo, it was clear to me that, like that large law firm, this was a sprawling enterprise, and there was a lot of opportunity outside of law. And so I made it clear to folks that I was very interested in sports. And anyone who knows me knows that I love sports, but I made it clear to the people above me that Yahoo Sports could be interesting to me. And so, long story short, the guy who was running Yahoo Sports left the company, right spot at the right time. But because I had, two things, because I had done a decent job on the deals in my business affairs role, and because I had given them clarity on my passion for sports, right spot at the right time, they asked me to stretch. They asked me to leave law and lead or run Yahoo Sports, which was a defining moment, in my life.
Of course. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's almost like your expertise combined with your passion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the sport was the passion and you already had the expertise and actually building out a whole new unit, basically.
I think that's right. So I went from managing 12 people to managing over 1,000 people, overnight.
What?
So huge stretch for me. So, but that all went well, and ironically, I found myself competing against ESPN every day. That's how I woke up every day, saying I have to.
They were like your muse, right?
What's
like,
that? Yeah. Right. Every day I would wake up and I'd say, we got to beat ESPN, and that would be the rallying cry for our employees, and we did. We became, in terms of digital, in terms of ComScore rating, we were number one.
Oh my gosh.
Yahoo Sports. So, and I think that's initially how I met Bob Iger.
That was my next question, because I think that's, to me, I was like, okay, if that was your muse and that was kind of your target and you looked at it every day, it's almost like wishful thinking in a way, like the universe lines up.
Although when I was at Yahoo, I don't remember thinking I want to work at ESPN.
No.
Yeah.
Just its logo was in your mind, and its brand and their functionality and how they work.
Yeah.
And so how did that happen? Was it a call from somebody or was it just he picked up the phone and reached out to your office?
So we could bring this all together now. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned Launch.com.
Yep.
The guy who founded that company was named Dave Goldberg. He unfortunately passed away several years ago of a heart attack. Tragic, one of my closest friends. He married Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, who became a dear friend of mine. Sheryl joined the Disney board in 2010.
Okay.
As soon as she joined the Disney board, she looked under the hood and was paying close attention to the interactive or digital team. In Hollywood, they say you write what you know. Sheryl came from the digital world. And she knew it.
Right.
They brought her in.
That's why they brought her in, for her expertise.
Now, we also had Steve Jobs on the board, which was great. But Sheryl's the one who called me and said, hey, I just joined the Disney board, and I'd like you to start thinking about whether you could add value on the interactive or digital side. And I would love for you to meet Bob Iger. I'd already met Bob once in the context of me competing against ESPN. But long story short, I said to Sheryl, I'm flattered, but I'm not interested. Wow. Because I'm a loyal guy, Jay.
Right, you were already there.
Right? I loved Yahoo.
Machine.
I was on a good path. I skipped a step. At that point, they had asked me to lead all of Yahoo Media. So I wasn't just doing sports. I was doing entertainment, television, film, news, finance, games. I had all of Yahoo Media, which was essentially the Yahoo LA office. The whole brand was on my watch.
Wow.
And so I had a ton of variety. I loved my job. I loved the people I was working with. I built a team. And it felt disloyal for me to even take a meeting because the company had been so good to me. So I politely declined at first. A couple of months went by. She called me back, and she said, just take the meeting with Bob. And so I did. I went over to his house on a Sunday in August.
But Jimmy, I love that you declined the meeting with Bob Iger.
Yeah.
Just to hear that shows who you are and your character and your loyalty.
Yeah.
Because there's not too many people that would actually decline a meeting with Bob Iger.
Yeah, part of it also was, part of it was loyalty. Part of it also was, I knew how compelling he was.
Nice.
And I knew that if I went to see him, that it was going to be, and if he wanted me, it was going to be hard for me to say no.
Right.
So it was like a combination of those two things. But ultimately, I obviously met with him, went over to his house on a Sunday afternoon, and we spent a couple of hours together. And I remember leaving his house and walking towards my car and being like, if they offer me this job, if he offers me this job, I got to go work for this guy. And I want to go work for this company.
Wow. So tell me, what was so compelling in those 2 hours that made you have that emotion? Or that
his calmness, his thoughtfulness. My dad has always said to me, one of the most important things in your career is working for someone that you respect, having a boss that you respect, having a boss that gives you clarity. So in that meeting, I was really impressed by his style. I was impressed by the way he was able to succinctly describe what needed to be done on the interactive side of the Walt Disney Company. And the best example I could give you is it was the only segment at Disney at the time that was losing money. There were at the time 5 segments: movies, television, consumer products, theme parks, and interactive. And all of them were making a lot of money, and interactive was losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So in this meeting with Bob, he said to me 2 things. He said, I need you to have a vision on what this team, what this segment should be. And number 2, I need you to get it to profitability. And so, okay, complete clarity. So it was a combination of substance and also just how he conveyed the message to me. I didn't feel this, I remember not feeling this enormous amount of pressure.
Right.
I remember feeling like, okay, this person is going to support me, and he's going to be thoughtful about it. And then we spent a lot of time just getting to know each other.
Right.
Like very few interviews in my life have I had that type of experience where at least half of it was, where are you from? What are you passionate about? We both love the Beatles. We're both Yankee fans. We had a lot in common.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about that. He said to me at one point during the conversation, I want to know if I want to sit next to you on a 12-hour flight to Paris. Wow. You know, and I thought that was, was fascinating.
Like very fascinating.
Like, how are we going to gel? Because again, I was coming in from the outside, which was not really the Disney way. Like I was being interviewed to have a seat at his table, a direct report to him, whereas I think all of my peers, had climbed the ranks of Disney and earned their spot at that table, whereas I was coming in from the outside. So he really wanted to know that I was going to not just gel with him, but that I was going to be a good fit at the company.
The rest of the team.
Yeah,
right.
With the rest of the team, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's excellent.
And so I guess he felt I would fit in.
Clearly you made it. You made that. I mean, hey, he basically was like, hey, I could sit for 12 hours with this guy on this flight.
He never said that, but that had to be his conclusion.
Yeah, that's the sentiment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? He's the kind of guy I could sit 12 hours next to. You'll see, you'll meet him. That's what he told his team.
Yeah, right.
You know, but I was going to ask you, when he said that, I need you to get it to profitability. And he's basically, did he say, I'll give you this, you know, you'll get this much support. And you felt when you left that meeting, were you 90% sure you were going to leave? Were you 80% or almost like 100% sure you were going to?
I was 98% sure that if he offered me the job, I was going to take it. Wow. This wasn't a half-hour meeting. This was at least a couple hours. And that's not a ton of time to be making a decision that is life-changing. But I knew a little bit about him. I'd done my research.
I see.
You know, I wasn't going in cold.
Right.
I did my homework, and everything I had thought came true.
Got it.
In that 2-hour meeting. Everything I thought about him
that's awesome.
Came to be true. So
my question for you, so you're there. Now I have a question that I ask everyone because we're hearing topical, like the journey, like how you got there, right? But I was like, wow, Jimmy has a lot to deal with on a day-to-day. And I ask this question to a lot of people that have highly, I won't say impactful, maybe stressful kind of like day jobs. Yeah. And, they get in the weeds a lot. A lot of time, a lot of resolution has to happen. Yep. So how do you deal with stress, like confusion and drama amongst peers at work and things like that? How does Jimmy Pitaro deal with that?
My best friends in the world are my friends from high school, like guys that I grew up with.
Really?
Elementary school, junior high school, high school. 3 of us went to college together.
3
of us actually met in elementary school.
And kept going and met up in college.
we went to college together. Well, they transferred to Cornell. They went to Albany. 2 of them went to Albany as freshmen and sophomores, and then they transferred to Cornell.
Right.
So, and we still are close to this day. We at least text 7 days a week.
What?
But, usually
cool.
talk often, and we're together all the time. But my buddies think that all I do all day is go to games and hang out. Like they don't, to your point, they don't quite understand that these are stressful jobs. Now, I'm not complaining. These are high-class problems.
Yes.
This is a great job that I have. It's a job that I wake up every day and I say to myself, like, I got to earn this today.
Right.
But there's a lot of, as you said, there's a lot of stress in these jobs. You can look at your calendar for the next day and say to yourself, okay, I got this. It's never what you think it's going to be.
Ever.
There's always stuff that pops up. In fact, we're sitting here right now. Yep. I can guarantee you when I get to my car, there's going to be 3 or 4 things that have popped up just during this hour and a half that we're spending together.
Right.
And so how do I deal with that stress? There are a bunch of ways. First off, I hit the jackpot in life with my family.
Right.
Like I love my wife to death. We've been together for 30 years. And I'm so incredibly grateful to have my partner, my soulmate, my best friend as my wife. I got 2 healthy, wonderful kids that are in college right now. My son is a junior and my daughter's a freshman. So they keep me grounded.
Right.
They're wildly unimpressed by their dad, which is good.
Which is amazing.
They
keeps you humble. It keeps you humble, right?
Exactly. Wildly unimpressed. If I still worked in the music industry, I think my son would be more impressed.
Excited.
But they keep me grounded, and then exercise.
I was going to say.
Huge part of my life.
Yeah.
Huge part
Mornings,
of my life.
afternoons?
Mornings. I get up at around 5:30. I try to bang it out because if I don't bang it out, then it's weighing on me.
Exactly.
Like I got to fit it in.
Yep.
Or I get home at night and, I want to see my wife and I want to have dinner with my wife, and it's just like
time.
The best way to do it
Knock
is
it
in
out
the morning.
Yep.
And then
5 a.m. club.
5 a.m. club.
5 a.m. club.
Yeah, my boss is the 4:15 a.m. club. So, yeah, I think he gets up at 4:15.
What?
But I also have a new spot that I just found in Westport called Recess. My wife introduced me to it, and so now every Sunday, my wife and I take classes together. It's kind of CrossFit type classes, right on Post Road, and
I've driven by it. I haven't gone inside.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Great trainers there, and I'm having a great time working out with my wife, which I haven't really.
That's quality time.
That's
really quality time.
We're high-fiving as we're doing our push-ups or whatever.
That's cool.
So anyway, exercise. I do a little bit of meditation. I use the Calm app.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. That I do 10-minute breaks. I do the box breathing. That helps me see, like when I'm about to walk out onto a stage and big room and lots of stress, I'll do the box breathing. That helps settle me. I try to eat well. My vice is sugar. Like,
okay.
I'm a big dessert guy. I always have been since I was a little kid. People kind of make fun of me.
But that's why. But at least when you work out, you can have your
exactly.
sugar.
You gotta have some payoff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, but other than the dessert, I try to eat well.
Right.
Not a drinker or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that last thing I'd say on this is I try to surround myself with good people. And that's my direct reports at ESPN, the team that we built at ESPN. Like I feel really fortunate that I have people that I respect, that I get to work with every day. The highlight of my work week is my direct reports meeting.
Nice.
Where I get to sit and do this,
That's
just have a conversation. And we talk, I talk about discuss, debate, decide, align.
That's what I was. Because I remember hearing you say that.
Yeah.
Let me write that down again.
Discuss, debate, decide, align.
Discuss, debate, decide.
Decide, and then align. And so what that means, Jay, is like let's get together. Let's talk about the most important issues. and let's debate them. And you gotta have thick skin. Like, tell me I'm wrong. I'm still learning. We're all learning. Like, so, like, let's have at it.
Right.
Let's do it respectfully.
Right.
Yeah. But then let's decide. You know, let's present the forum. Let's provide the forum to have these discussions and these debates. Then we got to decide. And if we can't decide as a leadership team, then I got to decide. That's what they pay. You know, that's what Bob and the board are paying me to do. Once, and this is the most important part. Once the decision's been made, you got to align. Like employees, leaders, we got to align, or else it all comes crumbling
Would
down.
that be now tell me this, I mean, now that to me seems like the most tumultuous side is getting everyone to align after the decision.
It's the most important part.
Right.
You know, because of course when you're debating things, there's going to be people who have different opinions than you. And so then when you do decide and the time for debate is over, you're going to have people who did not agree with the decision. And so the expectation is, okay, it doesn't matter. Like, at this point now, this is where we're going. The time for debate is over. It's time to get with the program. That's probably the most important component.
I was about to say, because, you know, in my micro decision-making process, I realized that with my small team, that getting them to align and being at that kind of place where you're like, you know what? We've done the debate. We've been past this already. We've said we're moving on, and you're still. Then you might have to, you know. You have to leave.
Then it all falls apart.
It falls. That's what my point is. Is that if they don't align and shift at that time, it's hard to go forward with that individual or individuals. Period.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it. No, I'm going to make sure everybody got that. Discuss, debate, decide, align. Very, very, very critical for leadership. Okay, so this one here. Oh, I forgot I even put this in there. Okay, what special gifts, talents, and abilities do you feel you have, Jimmy, outside of course, the obvious, the leadership skills, the passion? And I like to say, what would you say is the French call it the je ne sais quoi, or the zone of genius? What is, when outside looking in at Jimmy Pitaro, what would you say is what a zone of genius that you feel that you possess, that you've recognized that others either emulate of you, you know what I mean? Like they come to you for?
Yeah.
And have you identified that in a way?
So there's no genius here. Let me be clear. But I hear your question. And look, we all as human beings have positive qualities and areas where we need to improve.
Exactly.
So you're asking me about what I think my positive qualities are. I have a poster, and it's a pretty simple poster. It's just got words on it, and it says, "Work hard and be nice to people." And so I will tell you, like, I had the good fortune of working very closely with Derek Jeter to do his documentary on him / the Yankees dynasty of the 90s. And Derek said to me at one point, you know, there's always going to be someone better than you, but no one should outwork you. And so I do believe that. Like that, you know, there's a saying in baseball, run it out. And what that means is, if you're good enough to hit 100-mile-per-hour fastball or, you know, a wicked curveball, if you're good enough, if you're in the 0.0001% that is good enough to do that, you sprint to first base because that's within your control. Like that's the easy stuff. Be really good at the easy stuff. And working hard is within your control. I'm not saying it's easy to work on, but you can control that. You can outwork your competition. So that's part one. Work hard and be nice to people.
Be nice.
And so, like, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And so going back to my point before on my senior staff meetings, we tackle some meaty, sensitive topics, some disruptive topics that are on the agenda. And it could get heated, but it doesn't, because we're treating each other with respect.
Right.
And so that's my starting point. Working hard, busting my butt, and treating people with respect. Beyond that, I tell you, most of what I'm about to tell you, I've learned from Bob Iger.
Okay.
And so I already mentioned Bob's calmness and thoughtfulness. Like these are challenging jobs. I'm dealing with a lot of emotional people on the outside, high stakes. And so you could very easily fall into the trap of responding with heightened emotion.
Correct.
And I pride myself on not being that person. And I've learned a lot of this through working for Bob. I've now been working for him for 13 out of my 14 years at Disney. The only year was when he resigned as CEO, but then he came back. So I've had a ton of exposure to Bob. And so Bob's like this, right? Like when things go really well, but when things go really poorly, which is when you really want someone like this. And so I try to emulate that behavior. I try to lead with optimism. At the same time, you have to be a realist.
Right.
So you don't want to give a false sense of hope on something that's not going to work out.
Right.
But again, no one wants to work for a pessimist. So as a leader, you have to give people energy. You can't be an energy taker. You have to be an energy giver. So I do believe that if you were to ask my colleagues at ESPN, my colleagues at Disney, they would describe me as an optimist. I try to be decisive. Like I don't love having meeting after meeting to get to a decision. And so we will meet and we will debate, but we got to decide, and we got to ship. We got to ship the product, and we got to learn.
We got to move.
Yeah.
We got to move.
So those are a couple of examples.
That's great.
Optimism, decisiveness, and I also think that I'm a pretty good judge of talent. So I try to surround myself with really good people who are smarter than I am.
Right.
And I feel like I've had a lot of success in that department.
Have you ever?
Yeah.
Have you ever? So you said 13 years now.
14 years at Disney, but 13 years working for Bob, because Bob was gone for one of the years.
1 year. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so this one here, I was like, wow, I'm not sure. I talked to Cecile and I said, I don't know if I can ask this one, but I'll ask it, see what he says.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself at ESPN in the upcoming years, up to 2030? Because I was wondering what your vision was. So, how we talked about, what you don't want to do, right?
Right.
And then there's this. This is like, of course, I'm not sure if you'd say this, but it sounds like a dream job that you have now, right?
Yep.
Is there any North Star for Jimmy Pitaro at this point in your life?
Yeah.
As far as where you would love to be in the next 5 years?
It's a good question. I'm so focused on the next phase of ESPN.
Ooh.
This is probably the biggest transition that we've made in our 45-year history.
Wow.
What I mean by that is we've said publicly that we're going to make ESPN available direct to consumer right around this time next year. And so that's huge. It's somewhat disruptive to our underlying business model, or one of our underlying business models, which is the traditional television world.
Right.
It's called the MVPD ecosystem. That's multi-channel video programming distributor. That's an MVPD. Comcast, DirecTV.
Okay, got it.
We license our cable channels to these multi-channel distributors.
Right.
And that business has been very good to us. And at the same time, it's been in a bit of decay or decline.
Right.
And so we see like 8%-ish declines. And so we're at the point now where
Direct to consumer.
yeah, we've decided that we're going to make all of ESPN, again, discuss, debate, decide, align. That's probably the biggest decision that the leadership team and I, along with Bob, have made, which is making ESPN available direct to consumer. So you ask me where I want to be in 2030. The first thing that comes to mind, Jay, is I want ESPN direct to consumer to be a success.
Got it.
And if it is a success, then the ESPN business is going to be in really good shape, and ESPN employees are going to be in a really good spot. And that's important to me. I want this business to continue to thrive and continue to lead. By the way, I don't like it when we refer to ourselves as the leaders, you know, the worldwide leaders. Like that to me is not representative of the culture at ESPN. What is representative is the word service. And so you walk the halls of Bristol, Connecticut, or Los Angeles, or New York, and you'll see on our walls, serve the sports fan. And so that is who we are. Those words best represent the spirit of ESPN, the culture of ESPN, being of service to the sports fan. And so that energizes me, that excites me, that gets me out of bed every day because, again, I'm a huge sports fan.
Right.
Like I'm insane when it comes to my teams, Yankees, Giants, Knicks, Rangers, Notre Dame football. Like
fanatics.
I am a fanatic.
Right. That's good. I mean, and that's to me, now I see why that's your vision, because you're like, look, I'm that consumer. I'm still that consumer.
I am.
So how do I want to consume this in the future?
I'm glad that we've sat here and you have not yet asked me about the Yankees.
I know.
I want to go on the record as appreciating the fact that we are not sitting here talking about that series.
Funny. I was in the meeting in the city the other day with a guy on a new board I'm on for the Urban League in the city. And this guy worked for the Yankees for 21 years. I can't remember his name right now. And it was the day after. And he was just like, I was like, hey man, how you doing? He said, hey man, I've had better days.
Yeah.
I've had better weeks.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll probably have better years.
Yeah.
So the Yankee fans are everywhere.
It was rough.
Yeah, it
was a rough series. Yeah, look.
They'll be back.
Good season. Yeah. Made it to the World Series. As Yankee fans, you're spoiled. It's kind of like World Series champs or bust.
Right.
That's how you feel every year.
That's what it is. It's kind of like the bar is so high.
Yeah.
It's already set so high.
And it's so hard.
Expectations.
It's so hard to achieve that level of success or perfection. Everything's got to go right.
Exactly.
And, but for a couple of innings, they could have easily won that series.
It was looking good. So I do know this. You guys are you getting into, from what I read, gamification, like a lot more interactive? And is there AI in any of that conversation? Yeah.
So where do I start? So we are embracing artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And you're going to see that more and more as the weeks and months progress, especially as we lead into taking our networks direct to consumer. When we do that, it's not going to just be about the video. There's going to be significant product enhancements that go along with taking our networks direct to consumer. And so AI will play a part in that. Primarily through partnership. And so we're out there right now speaking with a bunch of different potential partners that we think can help us on the product side for ESPN flagship direct to consumer.
Nice.
But the answer to your question is yes, we do think that AI will be a part of our business as an enabler as we move forward here. So a couple of examples, highlights at scale. AI can help there.
Yep.
Game recaps
I was thinking that.
for sports that are more niche, smaller audiences, sports where we probably couldn't do recaps if we needed to hire human beings because it wouldn't make financial success with a positive ROI. But through AI, we're not displacing jobs. In fact, we're probably creating jobs through AI because we can create a better fan experience and monetize that, which gives us the ability to make investments, including jobs in other areas. Personalized Sports Center is something that we're very excited about. Like, so you all know what Sports Center is, but again, Yankees, Giants, Knicks, Rangers, Notre Dame,
Fans.
St. John's basketball. I want that presented to me. I want highlights from those teams presented to me.
Right, personalized. This is what my preference. These are my preferences.
Exactly. So give me the highlights if they exist from the night before. Give me those highlights first. Then once I get my Yankees, Giants, Knicks, Rangers, Notre Dame, and St. John's feed, then give me everything else. Exactly.
Nice.
Audio to text, meaning closed captioning, like being able to do that at scale.
Wow.
All of our events that we air, including on ESPN Plus, the more long tail niche content, should have closed captioning. Through AI, we can deliver there for the sports fan. The inverse of that, which is text to audio. So I commute to Bristol, Connecticut every day. Like, if there's a long form investigative story that I really want to read, but I can't because I'm just spending 2 hours in the car and I just don't have the time, I want to be able to click play and have that investigative report narrated to me. So AI can help there. By the way, we're doing this today.
I was going to say, okay.
So those are just some examples, but I can go on and on.
No.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I mean, all I can tell you is the future and technology and where it is catching up to this compelling content.
Yeah.
That's
right. Technology meets content, which is great for the sports fan.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, look, Jimmy, last question for you.
Yeah.
What brought you guys to Westport? How did you get to Westport? I have to end it with that one.
Okay, that's a good one. I'll try to be brief, but there's so much there. So
because I know about Vancouver to LA, and back to New York, of course, probably for work. But Westport, what was that?
So 2017, I start interviewing for this job, knowing that if I get it, we could potentially need to move. And so my wife and I started talking about it. My parents are in Danbury, Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
And so we started to think maybe Connecticut could be cool. Again, I grew up in Westchester. My wife's from Massachusetts.
Okay.
So we started to think, okay, Connecticut could be a good spot for us. My parents are there. On top of my parents, one of my wife's best friends, who actually introduced us in 1994 in West Hampton, lives in Westport.
No.
And so we had been back to visit her many times. We experienced Campo. We experienced downtown.
There we go.
We were like, wow, this place is kind of magical.
Right.
My wife loves the water. I love the water. You know, being able to live either on the water or we don't live on the water, but the idea of that or being close by the water was pretty compelling. Then as you start to really investigate the food,
everything,
the schools, the people, again, the downtown, the facilities, the gyms. My son was a boxer and he trained at Rich Dean.
Wow.
You know,
So
the fact that there was this amazing boxing training facility in nearby downtown, the fact that it was an artsy town. So Westport Playhouse, which my wife has performed at, that was incredible. My wife knew all about the Westport Playhouse. the fact that Staples High School had this
Oh my
group
God.
called Players. And the shows that they put on were like Broadway quality.
Right.
And by the way, Players were so good. That whole department was so good to my daughter. My daughter was a player.
Oh, she was in it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah. And
so my son goes to high school next year, so we're trying to
Yeah,
get him
it's
inspired
incredible.
about it.
So anyway, it kind of checked every box for us. And then last thing I'd say is, if you look at Bristol, which is where I need to spend a lot of my time,
Right.
and Manhattan, which is where I need to spend the rest of my time, plus my wife
middle.
needs access to Manhattan as an actress, Westport's kind of right in between.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. So it was perfect for us, and we love it here, man.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, it's funny every time I ask that, because that's like a last question for all my guests.
Yeah.
And it's all those boxes being checked.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a best kept secret. And I
It is.
realize
That's well said. It is a secret. Most people, even from Westchester, my buddies who all live in Westchester, when you're in the city,
Right.
you talk about Westport, they've heard of it, but they don't really know a ton about it.
No idea.
And then look, okay.
We're here now.
We're
and
here.
more importantly, more and more people since COVID have moved out here from the city.
Yeah,
So we're
correct.
getting more and more.
Correct.
And I have to give the plug to StartUp Westport, where I met you.
Yeah.
Do you know we started that a couple years ago? There's like 1,500 members.
Amazing.
And it's
I love that.
It's all, it's viral. People are coming together, but it's adding to me the vibrance of the community. And I love that because to me, in suburbs can be, you get in your car, you go to your destination, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now we have places where we can meet, break bread,
great.
collaborate,
Yep.
do all these things. So I'm really excited.
It's
And,
great. Last thing I say
Mm-hmm.
about Westport and kind of bringing it back to startups.
Right.
I had the good fortune of being asked to join the board of directors of a company called Roan. And
yes.
they're thriving. And as a testament to Westport, we just opened up a store in downtown Westport.
That's what Nate. What's his
Nate.
name? I'm supposed to meet Nate.
Yeah.
So, and I've been talking to him and the Faraday guys. Both of those guys are new
All right.
there.
Yeah, Nate Checkets. He's great.
All right.
And his dad worked in the sports industry, ran Madison Square Garden and
Mm-hmm.
the Knicks for years. He's a friend of mine now too. He's also on the board. But the fact that they decided to open up a store in downtown
That's
Westport is a
amazing.
testament
That's
to how vibrant downtown is.
Yeah, no, it's going.
So
it's doing
thriving.
really- It's thriving. I just joined the board of Westport Downtown Association. So it's the
Okay.
merchants.
Yeah.
It's all those merchants. So I
Love
can't
it.
wait to. I have to meet Nate. And
Yeah, he's a
welcome
great
him
guy.
to the association. That's
Yeah.
good. Well, you'll make those intros. And
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
get
happy
that
to,
going.
man. I'm happy to, Jay.
So Jimmy, let me thank you for coming, man. Because let me tell you, your schedule, I don't know, but I
Yeah.
kind of know
Yeah.
from your assistance.
Yeah.
And so I really want to thank you for
That's
taking the
my
time
pleasure.
out to come, man. And
It's my pleasure. I
mean,
love meeting you at that event
it's so
at the
cool.
library. And, I love what you've done with the place. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I know how much work went into this. It's very apparent to me, and you've done a great job here. And
Yeah, we're gonna grow.
hopefully it's the first of many, my man.
Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
keep this thing going. Let's
All
keep
right,
this
bud.
going. I always say, let's create our own vision board.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Okay,
I
buddy.
appreciate you.
My pleasure.
I really
Appreciate you.
All right, let's
All
do
right.
it.
Good.